of the Nuclear Industry Association on the World Tonight 2 hours later.
My concern now is that we have now in the UK, we have a supply chain that's been built up and been developed ready to deliver this because we need this power. We need low carbon power. We need secure, reliable power as part of our energy mix. We need to get on and do this, and that's why I'm hoping that the government make their decision very soon, because if it goes on for a lengthy period of time, we're going to run into the risk of having real problems in terms of our energy supplies, and then what happens is we end up paying a lot more, and we end up paying for much more dirty power, which we can't afford to do if we're going to meet our climate commitments, and we can't afford to do if we want to be secure for energy in the future.
Malcolm Grimston is a senior research fellow at Imperial College, London. It's all a bit baffling, isn't it?
It is. It sort of fits in with the theme of the last month, that every day something happens that you just couldn't have expected. I don't really understand what the government doesn't know about this deal. It's been in place for 3 years, in effect. We were waiting for the French to come to a decision. What I am absolutely sure is the British government will want to be very careful at this time of all times not to destroy our reputation of being a country which treats inward investment seriously and where people will feel that we're responsible partners. EDF, in good faith, has spent over £2 billion already at Hinkley C. I don't know where that money will go if the government were to change its mind. You can say it's fair enough that a new government coming in with new ministers will want to take a look at this.
And it is a massive thing to look at.
And it certainly is, but nothing about this is unknown, it seems to me.
So they had plenty of time to think about it. Well, plenty of time. They had time to stop the French making the announcement that they made last night.
Yeah, indeed. We've got Greg Clark across in Japan at the moment. We've been talking about the Chinese investing in the UK for a long time. The Chinese are. One wonders what they are making of the fact that the £6 billion that they're putting into this programme now looks as if it's in doubt.
Actually, stay where you are, because we've got Carrie Gracie, our Chinese correspondent, in Beijing as we speak. What are they making of it, Carrie?
Well, on the face of it, they've been polite so far. A spokesman for the company said last night, we respect the new government's need to familiarise itself with a project as important to the UK's future security as Hinkley Point. And they say they remain committed to delivering nuclear capacity with EDF and providing the UK with safe, reliable and sustainable energy. But one can only assume that behind the scenes there is some dismay, and we are trying to get a sense of what headquarters for the company feel about that. They're not talking here in China yet, but obviously they care about face issues and choreography, and they take that kind of thing seriously, and the expectation that they would be there to sign a deal today, which, as you've just heard, is they're putting up a third of the money for, is something that would concern them. However, when you look at the question raised, the sense that the government is now going to look at all aspects of this, I just want to flag up one small question in my mind that I'd like to see answered, because one of the concerns expressed last year when George Osborne and David Cameron were showcasing this deal with the Chinese during the Chinese president's visit to the UK in October, one of the concerns was national security, the sense that as part of this deal ongoing down the line, the Chinese would be invited to design and to build even a nuclear power station at Bradwell in Essex. And it's fair to say that the man who is now one of Theresa May's chiefs of staff, Nick Timothy, expressed at the time some concerns about the national security implications of that. So one would want to see reassurances, I suppose, that the new government in Downing Street is happy on the national security element of this.
Thanks, Carrie Gracie, our China editor. Malcolm, that's an important factor, isn't it? This whole question of national security. It's all very well to have the French building a nuclear power station, running it for us. The Chinese?
Yeah, I mean, it has been raised. My view is that it's not like we're dependent on Russian gas or Iranian gas. The Chinese can't decide they don't like it, so put Hinkley Point or their third of Hinkley Point on the back of a ship and take it away again. If they want their money back, they've got to run it as an effective power station in the UK. And we do have to face that the Chinese in particular, but also the South Koreans and many other countries, really have now got back the knack of building nuclear stations to time and cost. They have an enormously successful programme of their own. And personally, I think we should be prepared to learn from and to cooperate with a country that knows how to cut its carbon emissions and to reduce its dependence on fossil fuels, as the Chinese do, while, of course, taking security into account.
Right, so back to Hinkley C. What will happen now, do you think? I mean, what do you think Theresa May wants to know about this deal that she doesn't already know?
Well, I simply don't know. I mean, it is certainly the case that in 2008, when the project was really conceived, the wholesale price of electricity was higher than it is now. But that's irrelevant. This is a project which is going to run from 2025 to 2085. And what the wholesale price happens to be today or 8 years ago is kind of irrelevant to that. This is a very long-term strategic project. It's also a bit of an insurance policy against carbon and security, because it doesn't depend on the wind blowing or the sun being out as to whether we can power our hospitals or run our tube trains or whatever. In a sense, it's an insurance policy. We don't know. If we were sitting here 70 years in the future, we would know whether it had been a good deal or not. But the world is an enormously uncertain place. My own view is the gas price can't stay at its artificially low levels as it is at the moment on the back of the oil price collapse forever. And we need to invest in something very rapidly, because so many of our power stations are reaching the end of their life.
I don't know if you're a gambling man. Will it go ahead?
I believe it will, because I think the case fundamentally hasn't changed, and therefore the case is as strong as it was before. And after all, Philip Hammond, Greg Clark have all said extremely positive things about this project in the course of the last 2 weeks. But frankly, after the last month, I've given up betting on anything.
Malcolm Grimston, thank you very much.
The time 7:15. Southern Health is one of the biggest providers of mental health services.